But I never thought I'd be one of those people who would say, I didn't see it coming. But here I am, sharing my story, hoping someone will learn from my mistakes, or at the very least, relate to my experiences. My name doesn't matter. What matters is the journey I went through and the lesson I learned the hard way. Family isn't always what it seems. I grew up in a tight-knit family, or so I thought. We weren't rich, but we were happy, at least that's what I believed. My parents, my two siblings, and I shared a modest home in a small town. My father, a hard-working man, always taught us the value of loyalty and integrity. My mother, a gentle soul, was the glue that held us all together. Life was simple, but it was good. Looking back now, I realize there were signs, but I was blind to them. I trusted my family wholeheartedly. My father's lessons of loyalty were ingrained in me, and I believed that nothing could break the bond we shared. How wrong I was. The first crack in the foundation came when I was in my early 20s. I had just landed my first real job after college, and I was eager to support my family, to give back for all the sacrifices they had made for me. I was proud of myself, proud of how far I had come. But something changed when the money started coming in. I noticed my father's tone shifted when we talked about finances. He started making comments about how it was my duty to help the family now, to support them because they had supported me. At first, I didn't think much of it. Of course, I wanted to help. They were my family, after all. But soon, the requests became demands. My father insisted on knowing exactly how much I made, and he started asking for larger and larger amounts of money. It wasn't just for bills or necessities. He wanted me to fund his hobbies, his leisure. I was confused, but I complied, trusting that he had our family's best interest at heart. Then, one day, I came home to a surprise. My father had made a large investment, without consulting me, with the money I had been giving him. He had bought a plot of land, claiming it was for our future. I was shocked. I hadn't saved up for this. I had given the money under the impression that it was for the family's immediate needs, not some speculative venture. I confronted him, but he brushed me off, saying, "It's for the family. You'll see the benefits eventually." Something inside me shifted that day. For the first time in my life, I doubted him. Months passed and I continued to give him money, but the land deal didn't go as planned. Instead of profiting, we were sinking deeper into debt. My father's attitude towards me became colder, more distant. He started blaming me for our financial troubles, even though I had nothing to do with the decision he made. The guilt he placed on me was suffocating, but I still tried to help, thinking that if I just worked harder, gave more, everything would be okay. And then, the betrayal hit me like a freight train. One evening, I overheard a conversation between my father and my older brother. They were talking about me, about how they had been using me all along. They spoke about me as if I were an outsider, a tool, a bank account they could manipulate. My father had never intended to include me in the land deal. It was all for my brother. The plan was to build a business for him, and I was nothing more than the financier. I stood frozen outside the door, my heart pounding in my chest. Everything I had believed in, every value I had been taught, crumbled in that moment. My own father had betrayed me. My brother, the one I had looked up to, was in on it too. I felt like a fool. I confronted them that night, tears streaming down my face, but they didn't even try to deny it. My father just shrugged, as if it were no big deal. "Family takes care of family," he said. "You're helping your brother. You should be proud." Proud? I was devastated. I couldn't believe that the people I had trusted the most in this world had deceived me, had used me. My mother, silent as ever, didn't say a word. She just looked at me with sad eyes, as if she knew all along, but had no power to stop it. That night I packed my bags and left. I couldn't stay in that house full of lies. I moved to a different city, started over, but the wound in my heart didn't heal so easily. For years, I struggled with trust issues. I found it hard to let anyone get close to me. If my own family could betray me, who could I trust? But life has a funny way of teaching you lessons, even through the darkest of times. Slowly, I started to rebuild my life. I found people who cared for me, not because of what I could give them, but because of who I was. Friends became my new family, and I learned that blood doesn't always make someone family. Love does. Years later, I received a letter from my mother. My father had passed away, and she wanted to reconcile. She asked for forgiveness, for understanding. She admitted that she had known about the deception, but had been too afraid to speak out. She had been complicit in her silence, and now she was alone, burdened by guilt. I sat with that letter for days, unsure of how to feel. Anger, sadness, pity, they all washed over me. In the end, I wrote her back. I forgave her, but I didn't go back. I couldn't. Some wounds run too deep, and while forgiveness is important, sometimes distance is the only way to heal. Now, as I share my story, I realize that this betrayal, as painful as it was, taught me something invaluable. It taught me to value myself, to set boundaries, and to understand that not everyone who shares your blood has your best interests at heart. I learned that true family are the people who love you unconditionally, who stand by you, not for what you can give them, but for who you are. If my story resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Your support helps me continue sharing these real-life experiences with you. This is Rippled Bonds. And remember, family isn't always defined by blood. It's defined by love, loyalty, and trust.